Fraissinet. There we go. Thank you. Dr. Caroline Fraissinet is the founder of Career Wavelength, a career coaching and consulting practice centered around helping people managing their mental health conditions build careers that are both meaningful and sustainable. She serves on the board of directors for the Depression Bipolar Support Alliance, DBSA, California chapter, and facilitates support groups with the DBSA City of Angels chapter in Los Angeles. Caroline lives with cyclothymia, OCD, and ADHD. You can learn more about her and her practice at Google address for careerwavelength.com.
Yeah, just
Well,
careerwavelength.com.
there we go.
Yeah.
That's all we need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, back in the day, what that actually was a thing. In any
Yeah.
case, Caroline, take it away and
All right.
take it away.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited that you joined today. I'm always happy to give these talks and whatnot, so I'm happy to see so many people have joined. So this is a six-part series. They are not in any specific, well, they're kind of in order, but you can pop in on ones throughout. But you don't need to go to one and miss anything from the other one. So just know we'll be offering these once a month for the next 6 months. And today's topic is specifically about career exploration and identifying what you want and what you need in a career. So I will start here. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Please do keep your microphones on mute. You can put your camera on if you'd like. If not, absolutely no worries at all. We will have time for Q&A at the end, but if you have questions as we're going along, feel free to put them in the chat. If I don't catch them right when you ask them, I will definitely come back to them towards the end once we open it up for Q&A. We will turn the Q&A, we'll be recording the entire presentation, but we're going to turn it off for Q&A just because, people talk about their jobs and whatnot. So we want to just make sure everybody's personal identifiable information is protected. No matter what it is you want to talk about in the Q&A, you can ask me anything. All right. So our lineup for today, we're going to start with what you need as a person with a mood disorder and different things to consider specifically related to life living with any kind of mood disorder, be it bipolar, depression, anything on that spectrum. We're going to focus on that first because you should have what you need first at work. From there, we're going to get more into getting to know yourself. So we'll talk about, some self-reflection, as well as we'll do a very, very quick and dirty MBTI, Myers-Briggs test assessment, to get you thinking about your skill set. We're going to talk about the transferable skills that you specifically bring and what you specifically want out of a position. And then I'll leave you off with some next steps and some resources. So that's kind of our agenda for today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Caroline. I am a career advisor. I also live with cyclothymia, which is on the bipolar spectrum, OCD, and ADHD. My perspective comes from a couple of different places. First off, I've been a career advisor for almost a decade. So a lot of it comes from my experience working with people of all levels of their career. My doctorate is in organizational change and leadership. So some of it is informed by understanding how organizations are thinking and how that often does not overlap with what an individual employee may be thinking. And of course, lived experience as somebody with a mood disorder. So all of my things are informed by that. But first and foremost, I really feel I'm a peer. So a lot of this is going to be coming from my perspective as somebody with lived experience with a mood disorder. So I want to start us off by defining the difference between a career and a job. And here I have, you may already be familiar with the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So a job is over here in the second uh, rung of the pyramid, because it's a physiological need related to security and stability. That's a little bit different than my definition of a career. A career really encompasses all of these, maybe even this one a little bit. It's more holistic and it's more getting towards that top of the pyramid to self-actualization, self-fulfillment. So, today we're going to be discussing career. Obviously, a job and getting that kind of security is a huge part of that, but we are going to talk about it holistically as well. So it starts with you. Um, I firmly believe you can work in any industry you want to, but the individual job you do may or may not be a good fit. The key is finding something that is working for you. And a lot of traditional career advice will say this is what you do to stand out to your employer. My advice is you want to make sure that you're feeling comfortable and well at your job. And we'll talk about different ways to sort of assess that with yourself, but it starts with you and what you need. So, people with mood disorders have very specific needs that we need to stay well. And they all are very different. Everybody has their own specific things that might trigger mood episodes or make you feel better. So that is important to sort of figure out before you get into anything regarding what kind of job you want or what kind of career you're looking for. A few what helps and what hurts, a little bit of what I was just saying. So working with your care team to figure out what you need in a career first will help you direct your career navigation story. So I believe this slide, I give a few examples. So these are a few areas that people with mood disorders should consider. It's not an exhaustive list. You may have your own individual things that you need to manage. But just to give you a sense of what to look at, a day-to-day schedule. Consider your sleep needs and preferred schedule because with circadian rhythms, people with mood disorders tend to have a more sensitive rhythm than people who do not have mood disorders. A lot of studies have linked sleep to those mood episodes. So understanding what your natural schedule is and your natural circadian rhythms are is important here. So it could be for me, for example, the 9 to 5 really works. That hits right in the range of when I feel comfortable waking up and when I start to wind down for the day. But if you're a night owl or an early bird, that 9 to 5 might not be the right fit for you. So understanding what your needs are with your day-to-day schedule is something to consider here. The next one is the work environment. Do you prefer working in person, virtual, hybrid? Do you have any sensory sensitivities, for example, sound or light? Or are there office styles that you work best in? Using myself as an example, I'm very sound sensitive, and I found that working in a huge cubicle farm was just exacerbating a lot of my symptoms. But once working from home became more of a common thing, I found that I was able to be a lot more stable because that wasn't an irritant for me. Medication side effects. If you have any kind of side effects with your medication that could affect your work, for example, maybe you're titrating up or down on a particular medication that's making you groggy or sleepy. You might need to take more breaks to make sure you're getting that medication. That is an important thing to consider with your career and also in discussing what you need from a job when you do go down that route to applying for a job, interviewing, accepting an offer, all of that. So that's an important consideration as well. And then your ongoing health and wellness in terms of what you need to be well physically, mentally, emotionally. Are there any types of appointments or activities that you need to accommodate for? So that could be, I have to go to the therapist or the psychiatrist, at this particular cadence. It could be, I need to make sure I have time to do this particular thing that helps my health or my mental health, even. You want to make sure that you're accommodating for that too, because first and foremost, it's important that you're well. Because if you're well, you're doing a good job. All right, let's see here. So our first activity, everyone's needs are, as they relate to their wellness, are different. I'd love for you to take 5 minutes now, and I'll put the questions up to reflect on what your specific needs are. And again, everybody's needs are totally different. What might work for me as somebody living with bipolar might not be the same as somebody else who lives with the exact same condition. So get your notebook prepped. Here is the questions for you. So, reflecting on these questions for the next 5 minutes, I believe I can even set a timer here. Let me see. They just added this feature in Canva. All right. All right. So 5 minutes are on the clock.
Incidentally, I just thought I would take a moment to plug another charity. It's my Lakota Children charity. It's up in North Dakota. They are they teach kids about their culture, their heritage, and then the typical, reading, writing, and arithmetic. So yeah, just have my little notebook at the ready. So I'm excited. Thank you, Caroline.
Absolutely. I'm going to turn my camera off, but just know I'm here. I'm looking at the chat if anybody has any questions. Oh, I don't know whether you heard that. I don't know whether I put the sound on, but we are all set. That was 5 minutes. Um, I'm curious to, any insights that came up for anybody doing this exercise. Yeah, Irene.
Um, yeah, I guess I kind of answered it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, because I guess it's still fresh in my mind where when I worked last. Um, yeah, I have a lot of problem with working with others,
Hmm.
especially um when the rules change
Hmm.
rapidly. I just can't handle that.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
And and I have a lot of aches and pains in my body, so I'm always tired. So
Hmm.
I knew when I tried to work full time that I can't do full time anymore,
Yeah.
which really saddened me, but
Hmm.
nothing I can do about it. Just have to accept it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So and that means that I have to stay on Social Security disability,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I'm very much afraid of losing that because I lost that when I tried to go back to work.
Right.
So that's like an uncertainty I don't ever want to go back to again.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and that shows tremendous self-insight, that you kind of know this, it doesn't work for me working with other people, having those sort of needing it to be a bit clearer too. That's actually a huge accommodation that can be requested, which we'll talk about in a later presentation as well. But knowing that about yourself is already so helpful. So I really commend you in reflecting on that.
thanks.
Of
And I'm
course.
also afraid of rejection and embarrassment, and I
Mhm.
can't handle it when supervisors get mad at me.
Yeah. Yeah, all very important things. Thank you, Irene. I saw Heidi's hand, and then we're going to move on just for the sake of time. There'll be plenty of questions for Q&A afterwards as well. But Heidi?
Think in doing these reflections, it makes me feel sad and I struggle with answering them because I know what I need is incompatible with the kinds of regular jobs and schedules.
Hmm.
And I was diagnosed bipolar postpartum onset after I had my kid 5 years ago, and I still have a lot of working years left. Like
Hmm.
I'm 41, so there's still like at least 25 years there, and it pains me to think that I can't go back to my career the way that I thought I was going to after children.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm finishing a doctorate, and I've been working in
Hmm.
my field for 15 years, and so yeah.
Well, that's so a big time when I got after I finished my doctorate, I faced a huge depression afterwards as well. So I believe me, I relate on that one. And I just want to validate, it's knowing that a change needs to happen or whether we design it or not, that's worth acknowledging. And knowing what you need, that it's not compatible with how it was before. That is, they compare or it's been compared before that changing jobs or losing a job or doing any kind of transition in that way, it's grieving as well. So I believe me, I hear you on that one. So that I I think there are of course ways to sort of work with that, but I think acknowledging that is the first step, and you're doing great with that. Um, Robert, thanks so much for raising your hand. We do need to move on for the sake of time, but definitely hold on to it till the end, and I'd be happy to hear what you got to say. All right. So, accepting yourself where you are. That's you are more than your career. It should work for you and not despite you. So, we'll talk a little bit about getting to know yourself. So I already saw a lot of good examples of this with the people who had shared in just now. The more you know about yourself, the more that you can use that to plan your next steps and your path moving forward. There are a lot of ways to evaluate what this is. A lot of it is just sitting and reflecting on what you like and don't like. But today we're going to use just one assessment tool that you can look at to sort of understand yourself a bit more. So the Myers-Briggs test, very famous test in terms of figuring out what kind of personality and work style you might have. So if you already know your indicator, feel free to put it in the chat if you'd like. But just a quick overview for anybody who has not heard of the Myers-Briggs. The four-letter code thing. So I or E means whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And introversion doesn't necessarily mean shy. That just means you need time to collect yourself and not be you get energy from resting by yourself and reflecting versus an extrovert will get energy from interacting with other people. Taking in information, so sensing versus intuition. That's a different way of sort of looking at things, where thinking and feeling are different ways of sort of assessing a situation. And then, of course, judging and perceiving. So, all of this being said, I have a really, really, really quick version of this. So let me see if I can find my link here and I will put it in the chat in my notes. I can find my notes. There we go. Right now. My notes. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to put this in the chat. I'll set another timer. I love it. There's so many INFJs. I'm actually an INFJ as well. And I heard it's one of the rarest ones. So I'm glad that I'm in good company today. So let me put the timer on again. And, you know, because it is so down and dirty, feel free to just put in the chat, like, I'm done. And if it takes less than 5 minutes, great. We can move on a little bit earlier. All right. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you need them.
How do you like find out like there's no submit button or something?
Just 1 second here. There's no submit button.
I don't see it unless
Oh, okay. Let me take a look at that. This website might be a little bit old, so let me take a
Dr.
look.
Caroline, I did not have to submit my form. The
Oh,
results just popped up when I completed the multiple
okay.
choice.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. It automatically calculates. So do you see it when you go down on the page a little bit, Irene?
Uh, I get, is this the tendencies? So it just tells me introverts, I direct your in energy inwards, blah blah blah, sensing. It doesn't tell me exactly.
Hmm. Well,
I don't see any.
oh, how odd.
Miss Irene, perhaps scroll upwards rather than downwards. Because for me, I think they explained the categories after they already gave you the little acronym.
Um,
So
Mine kind of changes. Like it's changing. Like it's not like it's saying INFP, IXFP. It just changes.
Oh.
well, the X means you're like splitting it down the middle, right? So the X
Mhm.
is just that. So does it give you like another an acronym with an X that doesn't represent the binary consonants?
I can't tell. I'm sorry, because there's some that are doing X, and there's like when another one flashes, there's another one that has an X on it. So uh, can't really tell. Sorry.
Maybe
I
that
have a
just
better
means
one
you're
on
more of a
the resource
unicorn
sheet
than the
anyway.
rest of us. So yeah,
Okay.
Irene, embrace your inner unicorn. You're just, a little more complex
I
than the
guess
rest of
I'm
us.
You're
just,
just
I don't know.
so awesome that they can't even define you.
I'm unidentifiable. Okay, got it.
All right. Well, there's a longer one that I put on the resource sheet, which will go out after this. So this was just really down and dirty. Curious, a couple people, if they want to talk about if anything came up for them, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand. Yeah, I'm wondering if there was anything you took away from this. Yes, beyond definition and the box, Irene. Well, any of this kind of there's any number of different assessments. I do have a resource sheet with more information on different recommended assessments you could take, but it's just to give you a sense of maybe this kind of job might work, maybe this one might not quite so much. But just like Irene, you are beyond the definition of those boxes. It's just kind of to get you thinking a bit more about what it is that makes you you. So moving into skills, what do you have? So everyone has their own unique skills and abilities that they bring to the table. It's time to consider what yours are. So transferable skills are key. So regardless of what your individual experiences may be, you have developed numerous transferable skills. Even if it's not work related, you definitely have different skills that you can bring to a situation that are different from anybody else who would be approaching that situation. So, to get you thinking a bit more, a couple of examples of transferable skills. One is communication. So this can include speaking, listening, writing, facilitating group discussions if you facilitate with DVSA, expressing ideas, describing feelings. Oh, sounds great, Heidi. Thanks for popping in for a little bit. Um, Adaptability. This can include ability to learn new skills, open-mindedness, adjusting plans if things change, and switching gears on projects. Time management. So this can include short and long-term planning, ability to track your progress, achieving goals, meeting deadlines, um, anything related to managing your time, and then problem solving. This can include thinking about challenges from multiple angles, staying calm under pressure, and seeking help from others to solve issues. A lot of these I find that I use a lot with facilitating with DBSA. So that is not specifically a work situation, but I'm developing those skills just by doing that. So a big trend within hiring recently is it's called skills-based hiring. So thinking about things in terms of the skills that you've built rather than the literal things you did on the job can help you look at different career paths or jobs or things you want to be doing in terms of your career from a different angle than I didn't have a job doing that exact thing, so maybe I'm not qualified for the next job. Because it's a big trend now with employers recognizing you can bring these skills from a different area and they're still relevant to the job that needs to be done. So thinking about the skills that you've developed, we'll do this one just real quick. So think about 3 things you like to do. Do not need to be related to work. Could be I like to read. What transferable skills do you have from that interest or experience? So using that example of reading, critical thinking skills, understanding things from a different perspective could be adaptability in that way by looking at things from a different angle by reading. Think about those a little bit and choose one and share one in the chat. I'm going to put the timer on for 2 minutes this time just to get you thinking. Uber. Oh, wrong one. All right, there we go. Let's see here. Flexible, organized, good communication skills. Excellent. Creative writing. That's communication as well as forget what the other one was, but definitely creative thinking, reading, research as a transferable skill. Yes, definitely. Talking with family and friends, communication. Again, yeah, these are all great. And these are all applicable to things you would bring to a job. Problem solving, excellent. Yeah. Dance teacher can either teach through using a technical methodology or a completely impromptu improvisational model, depending on genre of dance or student learning styles. Yes, love it. I think I learned the most from doing improv comedy. I use those skills a lot, and that was absolutely not related to work. Writing documentation. Yeah, absolutely. That's really important to make sure that you're covering everything and that everything is getting documented properly. Yes, absolutely. Staying organized and clean at home. Yes, that's something I need to work on. I'm not the best at cleaning, but it's really important for organization. Definitely valuable to any job you may have. All right. So with that, let's move on to the next section here. Now understanding what it is you want. From here, we're going to think about factors that you'd like from a career. This will guide you in your eventual search. Making money, that's a really good skill to have. Love it. All right. So, some factors to consider in your careers. There's a really great book out there called What Color is Your Parachute? You might be a professional bump. That does sound like a good job. Factors to consider in your careers. This list is not exhaustive, but it gives you a sense of things to think about. I drew these from What Color is Your Parachute? Which the next exercise is a reference to it as well. If you have not read this book, definitely check it out. I actually found out that it is the most stolen book from the library. So don't steal it, but it is a very helpful book. Personal values, abilities, and skills, environment, and by environment, it's, working in an office, working, virtually, all that stuff, the literal environment you're working in, your interests, temperament and personality. That could be of, what it can be in relation to the symptoms that might bring up in you, or it could be, your attitude towards work, what tends to uh be your temperament that you need to make sure that you're accounting for. For example, like, I am not a customer service person. I do not have that temperament. So I know that that's probably not the right path for me. Although I definitely admire it in other people. The workplace culture and the people, do the people seem like people you get along with, or did you just not mesh with them? And then, of course, the necessities, so that's salary, location, again, those sort of considerations specifically related to mood disorders. Those are just a few things to think about, but another exercise here. So the flower exercise is in what color is your parachute. So these are the factors that we just discussed. Right now, I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it. Focus on just one of the petals, and add some things that come to mind for you when you think of those things. If you're comfortable, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll discuss for a little bit. I think we're doing pretty well on time. So, take the 5 minutes now, and I'll set the timer. I'll be checking the chat as we do that. So if you need anything, just let me know. All right, there we go. Manisha, can you see the picture? So you just pick one of those, and then you're just thinking about some things that come to mind. Does that make sense? Great. All right, wonderful. I'm already seeing some great stuff in the chat. If anybody wanted to talk out loud or anything like that, feel free to raise your hands. But if not, I'll just read some of these great things that you wrote here. Um, Looks like we've got purpose in life. Oh, those are all wonderful. Helping the less fortunate, fighting injustice, protecting life on the planet. These are all wonderful. I don't know whether you were one of the ones who got INFJ, but these really resonate with me as an INFJ wanting to make a difference. So Wendy's had some wonderful people in her life. That's great. I'm so glad that you've been fortunate to have good mentors. It is really important. Kind, yeah. And that can fit for so many things, right? Just kindness in the way other people are approaching things, kindness in the culture. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Places to live, ability to travel. Yeah, so that's a practical concern. You value travel, so you want to make sure it fits in with that. Purpose in life. Yes, all of these are wonderful. Yes, very, very much resonating with me on this one for INFJ too. Working conditions, not fast paced, share tasks with others, variety of duties, supportive supervisors. Could not agree more on all of those. Robert says, purpose in life, write novels, short stories, and poetry, make enough money off of them that I could buy a little house, maybe. I love that. I love that. Let's see here. INFX. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're kind of in the middle between a J and a P. So that, yeah, totally makes sense. Places to live, near water, community, people who value friends. Yeah, the activism flavor of, yes, definitely. These are great. And you know, the whole exercise takes a while, and can be more challenging than it looks sometimes, where it's like, oh, I really do have to think about it in those terms. But it's a great exercise to sort of get a sense of where your compass is so that you can get on the right path or take those steps towards what you want a little bit more. Let's see what we've got here. This might be my last slide. Yes. Okay. So this is just one step on your journey. You do not need to have it figured out today. In fact, it would be, I don't know that anybody ever has it figured out. I feel like a lot of times when I talk to people about career, they're like, I should have it figured out by now. No one ever has it figured out. So these are just things to consider to, you know, redirect yourself toward closer to what you're looking for. So with that said, some resources as you explore. I'll drop, I'll drop a handout PDF with resources in the chat, but it'll also be emailed to you. So if for whatever reason you're on your phone or something like that, it'll be sent to you as long as you registered through Eventbrite and all that. For a more in-depth MBTI, that's much better than the one we just did. 16 Personalities has a good one. To learn more about career options and paths, I really recommend ONET, which is through some branch of the government. I don't know which one off the top of my head. And Career One Stop, which is through ONET. They have some assessments on there, as well as profiles on different careers, different skills. Really great resource in terms of career navigation and exploration. The DBSA Wellness Wheel, which is on the DBSA national website. Fantastic resource for overall wellness, but they have a specific section for occupational wellness. So that'll be in the references in the next slide as well. Your local library has tons of resources. This will, of course, vary based on where you are. But looking at the LA County one, there are so many that I didn't know of. So that's a great place to look. But don't steal the book from the library. Don't steal the books. And of course, you're not alone. DBSA support groups like these are great ways to connect with others, build community. I've met so many wonderful people through DBSA, you know, and it's led me down this path in terms of getting to connect with people like you and do what I love, which is to help. I do see your hand, Wendy. This is my last slide. These are some references for today. And thank you. This is my information, should you want to get in touch with me. I will also put this in the chat along with the resource page. And that is all for me in the prepared area. Ms. Wendy,
Yeah,
would you?
so pardon me, Caroline, if you wanted to leverage your powers of technology and put our YouTube channel
Yes.
in the chat, because
Mhm.
there's so much juicy content in there that it just blows my mind at this point. So, for example, we have our third Thursday inspiration series folks in there. Like that's Taran Jackson with his epic story of recovery after losing his wife and becoming a widower overnight. An explosion on a yacht that also left him as an amputee. He does a third Thursday inspiration series. Michael Schneider, who also is he's a life coach person and he has 25 years of, I call it sobriety. It basically means episode free bipolar one, where he's done some very rigorous work on himself, and he has a beautiful talk. Also, I believe Caroline, was it you're the Sandra Steiner exercise therapist
Yes, that
person?
was
She's a friend of
Sandra.
yours. Do you want
Yeah.
to just give that then the skinny about that one too?
Yeah, so the that was one of our third Thursday speakers, and she is a woman living with bipolar who is an exercise and fitness expert. So she talked about that in relation to having bipolar. Thank you,
Yeah.
Abby,
So,
putting
in
that in
one
the
last
chat.
pitch, so Paula Smeaton also did something, a mindfulness series. She had a really catchy name, of course, which escapes me, but if you, it's like a mind body awareness one. It's kind of like the physiological component of the mind body connection. And she's a mindfulness coach, and she also, her profession is to do suicide crisis line counseling. And so, point being, and if you want to take a gander at all the other amazing content, and in fact, on our homepage, Dr. Caroline has a testimonial that she and her husband crafted for our homepage. And that's actually just a really quick, snippet of her magnificent story. So, yeah, it's just a little teaser, a Caroline teaser. So, in any case, yeah, I would love it if you all would do a deep dive on our channel. And I also pitched where our next third Thursday, April, is going to be a filmmaker guy who's going to coach folks on how to create their own short film. And then the May third Thursday is called the Art Salon. And so, for those of you that are artists, either fine artists where you have visuals, if you are a poet, if you're a spoken word person, if you write prose, if you play the mandolin, if you want to play the fiddle, please contact me because I will be designing the set list. And I'd like to hear from you if any of you are in the arts and are keen to perform in May. So, with that having been said, Caroline, I'm just going to completely turn it over to you, and so
All
you
right.
can finesse your way through the Q&A.
All right. Well, I am going to turn the recording off. So if anybody's watching this on YouTube right now, thank you for watching. My information is on that last slide if you ever want to get in touch with me. And thank you for, being part of the DBSI community.